Huntsville, Alabama. You know we've got space camp and rockets and government contractors, but did you know we have one kick-ass music scene that doesn't get near enough attention? Well, that's about to change. Welcome to Uprising, a podcast about the people that make Huntsville's music scene so cool. Hosted by me, Bill Fowler, Huntsville native and lifelong musician. So strap on that guitar, flip on that amp, and crank it all the way up. You've just joined the Uprising. So I'm just going to look at this every now and then just to make sure that everything is
still working
the way it's supposed to be. Yeah, we look to be centered. Your beard, you're fine. You're warm.
Yeah.
All right, Billy Pettinger. Welcome to my podcast. Well, I think I told you that dozens of people, don't get nervous, dozens of people watch this.
Literally dozens?
Including people that are related to me. I know it's a huge deal. So get ready for your career.
I'm going to do my best.
I'm
really, really nervous, but I'm going to do my best.
What are you doing?
What am I even doing?
What are you doing? What are you doing here? What are you doing in Huntsville?
What am I doing? I came to see your awesome place.
Right answer.
This is warm, there's a fire, it's a beautiful day.
It is beautiful.
Oh, you mean like Alabama?
Yes, Alabama.
Oh.
What brought you? Now, some of these questions I already know the answers to because Jenny Askins actually introduced us virtually. And I do a little work for her with this Geronimo thing, which I know she's talked to you about a little bit. So I'm like the local music guy for that. Anyway, so we were talking about that, and she mentioned you, and so I asked a bunch of questions. She answered them, but I want to hear it from you. So what are you doing in this film?
I just like it here. It's green, there's water, and people are nice.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm from Canada, and it kind of reminds me of Canada a little bit.
Mm-hmm. How?
People are nice, it's green, and there's water.
Yeah, so you're from Vancouver.
Yep.
Like city or like where?
Like a suburb much like this.
Okay. And I would say, having been in Vancouver and having grown up in Huntsville, they're pretty different. As far as
they're pretty different?
Well, as far as the plot
It's changed a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a coastal city. It's on the ocean,
Right.
as opposed to we have many rivers,
Mm-hmm.
which I actually prefer. Well, rivers are a little calmer. You can go on a river more
Right.
days
Right.
than the ocean.
Right.
Less days, and way colder there.
Way
Way
more expensive, as we were saying.
There is that. Yeah, that might be the ultimate reason. So I had lived and worked in the great United States of America for many years as a musician. Just had like a work visa or whatever, and then I finally, I don't know. I think I went back to Canada for a year, and I lasted exactly 1 year lease term in an apartment because nobody I know can afford it to buy anything.
Right.
And I just kind of looked around and I was like, I probably could just have a better life, have a little studio, just kind of live simply.
Yeah.
Like really anywhere. And then I was lucky enough to be in this area, and here I am.
Yeah.
It's a very nice place you have here.
Thanks. I
Don't
take
tell
full
any more
credit.
people about it.
No, you know what? That's a huge problem actually that I've been thinking about. Is you're obviously well traveled, and I travel a lot for my other job, big boy job, and I go to cities. Austin is a good example. Denver is a good example.
Stop telling people about how good these places are.
Well, and people who are from there are like, we love Austin, and people began moving here to get what we knew as the whole Keep Austin Weird thing. Austin has a great music kind of vibe. So many great artists have come out of Austin. And then suddenly so many people, Nashville's going through this right now too, so many people move there that you begin to lose the soul and the feel of the city that is the reason why people move there in the first place. So at some point, it's critical mass. Yeah, thanks. A lot. So I'm going to do something really quick. I'm gonna cut. I never do this. We're going to cut real fast. I'm going to stop the camera. Get ready. Okay, we're back. Yeah, let's do that. This may work. I mean, and it doesn't matter. I've used these lapels before and with the camera simultaneously to merge the audio tracks, And a lot of times that audio ends up being better than this audio.
Why?
I don't know. I don't ask questions.
Shift 1, 2, checkered pants.
That'll be great.
Republic.
I'm a musician that doesn't like a lot of buttons. I like to plug in and just kind of, yeah. So I have played with guys and girls that have. Dave Anderson is a good friend of mine.
It's too much stuff to carry.
don't have no idea how he does that. I got one of those things. I was like, hey, I'm going to do some solo acoustic stuff, and I can do that, sure. And I bought one of the things, and I'm like, I'm so bad. I'm so bad at that.
Bad, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Tap dancing.
We changed camera angles a little bit. I recentered, and then we got audio, which again may not matter at all. But during the break, we were talking about you're playing a show at Humphreys.
I play show, yes.
But you don't play shows.
I mean, like every once in a while. If somebody really nice says, "Hey, do you want to play a show at Humphreys?" I'll probably say, "Yeah."
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not like trying to make people.
You're not going to make it a
show
regular
for
thing.
me. I don't know. I have some new songs I'd love to try out in a public situation to see if they're going to make the next record.
See, most people I talk to are like, I need places to play. I want places to play. I'm trying to get my name out there. I'm trying to do this. Why?
I think because like I did that for a long, long time. Like I was a teenager in a van driving across Canada like 3 times a year.
Yeah.
We played Winnipeg so much people thought we were from there. And then like many summers of my life have been in a van, in a car. So I love to travel, but I like for it to be nice and not to have to work when I'm traveling. So
Yeah.
I sound so spoiled right now. Playing is great, but like the road thing, I don't know. I got that out of my system. You know, I had a backpack. I did that. It was cool. And people that love to play all the shows.
Yeah.
More shows for you.
Right.
You know, play every day if you want.
Well, you are a very accomplished musician, and most people that I speak to are on the uptick or attempting to make a career from this. You have made a career out of this. So without trying to, to the level of your comfort, could you just give me a rundown of your resume? Just tell me like what you've done and what you would consider your greatest professional accomplishments, just to give me an idea about where we are.
Okay, so like I was in a punk rock band forever, booked a bunch of shows, put out a bunch of albums, like wrote hundreds of songs, just wrote so many songs, and then got to work with some people I really look up to, got to do a bunch of tours in tour buses, and like, and I guess the real answer to the last question is like I felt like I did the thing.
Yeah.
I got it. I worked my whole life to be a professional musician, and it's awesome. It was super awesome.
Right.
And then I got a dog, and I realized staying at home is awesome also.
Right.
But there's always music. So things I'm proud of, like I said, I've worked with people that I only dreamed of working with. Like I toured with Against Me. I got to sing with Laura Jane Grace. I lived on a bus with Chuck Reagan. I toured with Billy Bragg, who I would fall asleep with my arms around a ghetto blaster listening to him.
Yeah.
I got to see the world, and like I'm not saying those days are done. I like to be in my workshop. Like I don't know, anybody that has a hobby that's listening can relate to that. Whatever your thing is that you're compelled to do, and for me, it's more writing and recording, and these days producing and helping people.
Yeah.
I can help more people if I just stay here and don't play so many of the same songs every night.
Right.
I can make more songs.
Yeah. And it's always different.
Yeah.
And you're bringing the depths of experience that you have, and I would imagine the people that you're helping aren't just necessarily in the narrow genres that you worked in or that you created in, and that's really kind of soul feeding, is that you can be around people who have different interests and you can provide a well-rounded experience. This is a teaching thing too. Like I know you work with young people, so
Yeah.
I'm going to go all over the place. I have no agenda here. Okay, so
Yeah.
tell me what you're doing. Just tell me what you're doing with that.
What am I doing? There's all these people of all ages that are interested in music all over the world, and I work with some in this area that play piano and guitar and sing, and a lot of them have started writing songs and working on their first albums. Like 13-year-olds, like cutting their first records.
Yeah.
Which I'm more excited about than like the people that I looked up to and got to tour with. You know what I mean? I'm more excited for these kids' albums because I feel like I don't know, they're the future, and they're like telling us how the world is and how the world is going to be.
So where do you do that?
I have a studio in my house.
Mm-hmm. And just offer. How does this even start?
That was the thing. I was trying to figure out what I could do to kind of get off the road, and I looked at my dog, and I was like, You're just going to have a way better life if we just stay here and make it simple. And I just like saw myself as a little old lady piano teacher. Like saw me a million years old going like, all right, C major. And I just like saw it.
Yeah.
And then slowly, one step at a time, one kid at a time, I like built up a roster and was still like writing, and I still like will go overseas or back home or something and play whenever I can. There's still like TV and film stuff, but my day to day is like, you know, seeing these little whippersnappers that are getting so good now because some of them I've been working with for years,
right?
And you know, and I think like because I'm not like the typical old lady piano teacher, like for somebody that's up and coming and maybe wants to make music their life, I might be, you know, I wasn't like a rock star, but I might be the closest they've seen to someone that actually like got there for a minute.
Right.
So maybe it's because it's more real, or maybe it's just like the world they grow up in. They're used to turning on American Idol, and it's totally normal to be 8 and amazing at ukulele and singing.
Right.
Like that's just normal now.
Right.
That wasn't normal when we were growing up.
No, right.
You know, it'd be like you have to play the local all ages show. The bands would be terrible. You'd all be really terrible for like 10 years. Mm-hmm. And then slowly the people that were still standing would still be standing. Right. So yeah, you can tell like I'm just so much more fired up about that than you know, my own thing.
It's a form of therapy.
It is for both of us.
Sure.
You know,
because they're coming to you and they're giving you something that is that needs to be incubated, and they don't know how to incubate that, and they give it to you, and that what a gift it is to be able to take something like that and to nurture it and give them a product. And so the product, what? It's
crazy. Like it's so crazy. It blows my mind. Like I said, I've been working with some of them for years now.
Right.
And you know, they're growing up, and I've been a part of their lives and like their families, and it's amazing. It's so cool.
And you've been doing this for how long? Here. You've been doing it here for how long?
I've been in Alabama for 4 years, so like 3.
Mm-hmm. Out of your house. It's a business.
I mean, I guess so.
Yeah, that's okay. So give me a typical, you know, case study about someone that you have met or comes to you and they have this raw ability, or something, a song, and you take them through that process. What is the path that you guide them through? They're recording, obviously, or this is the skill of songwriting. You kind of teach them that, and then there's a recording aspect, which is obviously a completely different animal than performing. Is there a performing aspect?
Oh, totally. We do like probably 4 concerts a year,
mm-hmm.
And then I've been putting together like songwriter nights, specifically like young songwriters, so that the new younger people kind of have somewhere to go, because a lot of places in this area, they want like, you know, 3 or 4 hours of music.
Yeah.
So if you're just a kid, you know what I mean? Like, where do you play? So yeah, we put on little shows. Everybody gets to record one thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish I had started this sooner. So like every year you kind of see how you progress. And even if it's just Mary Had a Little Lamb or whatever, you know, it starts out Mary Had a Little Lamb. Next year it's Blah Blah Black Sheep. You know, like the sky is the limit. And a lot of the time it's, you know, rarely does somebody like have talent from the get-go. Yeah. It's just time. It's the amount of time that you spend on anything, building a fire, you know, making a video, like the more you put into it, the more you get out of it.
Sure.
And so we start out learning these simple little songs, you know, maybe it's something on guitar or a song that you like that you heard on the radio, and we just go from there. And every once in a while somebody will blow me away and, you know, be singing and playing guitar in like a month. Like I see that all the time.
Yeah.
And even if you don't have time to practice or whatever, like people still improve. It just takes a little bit more time.
Right. And so you do the recording, which is a process, and then out of that you have people who are like, you've made something that is repeatable, which is what I found as a songwriter, as a young person, was having this thing, and I just wanted to drive around my neighborhood and handing out.
Like, look what I did.
Yeah. So the performance aspect of it, I would imagine, is for some people at the beginning unheard of. Like, there's no way I'm doing this in front of somebody.
Sure.
By the time they get through the recording process, they have something they're proud of. They have something they can present. And so when you go do these things, is 4 times a year you do a performance, and where does that happen?
All over the city. We've done them at the camp, Campus 805, the lumberyard. I think we're gonna do something at Stovehouse.
Yeah.
But I wanted it to be like actual places that these people would play.
Of course.
So when they turn, 20 or whatever, or maybe they're in college and
Right.
they can do something on the weekends, or they end up the CEO at a company
Right.
and they're just that much more comfortable
Sure.
speaking in front of people, or
Right.
they've got a school presentation and they're shaking just a little bit less
Absolutely.
because they have been in front of like the public and,
Right.
and done something that's kind of scary.
You're I have 3 kids that are in school, and no offense to any of my teacher friends, but music is gone. Like, music in school is gone. There's band and there's choir, but for the most part, I grew up in an environment where I was exposed to a music teacher, and I would sit down and we would learn, treble clef, lines are E, G, B, D, F, and I would do that. I know that because of that crazy experience. But they don't get exposed to music. They don't get exposed to the arts like I was as a kid. So you're essentially like an advanced, service to the community by giving them the opportunity to do that and to pursue something they're interested in. Well, that's really amazing, and I would love to spend all of our time just on that. But I do want to. So I've been listening to your music. To switch gears, I've been listening to your music all day, and can you tell me kind of where you are with your own stuff? First of all, you're on Spotify. It's Billy the Kid. Like that's where most of your stuff. That's how I found you.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got a lot of really solid stuff. Like, you've got a day's worth of music to listen to, because I've been listening to it all day. I mean, really
They won't
quality stuff. But the most recent thing is 2014, I think, but that was Horseshoes in the Air.
No, so there's been like a bunch of albums under Billy Pettinger.
Okay.
So yeah, like, just to get away from that, it was just a nickname that stuck. People called me the kid because I was always the youngest.
Right.
And yeah, I just decided to start putting out albums as Billy Pettinger. So there's probably like, I think 4 more albums that
are more recent than
Yeah.
Oh my God. And you're working on something right now.
I'm all. It's like
You can't stop doing it.
Yeah.
And well, so it's a compulsive thing. I understand the artist's
It really is.
thing. It's like, this is what you produce. To be creative is to create. And so you're producing this stuff all the time. You get an idea for a song, and you go write it down. Next thing you know, it's produced. You have a recording studio in your house, and boom, it's on. It's there, and it's up. Is it a compulsion, or is there a dream out there, or is there something that you have that's sitting out there that's still on the list of things that you have to accomplish as a musician on your own?
I think if it was a dream, like maybe it was in the past, I would spend more time involved in the other sides of it, like playing or industry things that maybe I was concerned more about when I was in my early 20s and was like, I want to give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
But every time life smacked me in the face and knocked me back to square one, I always went back to it's me and the thing, and no one else is around. And when everything has come and gone, that's always where I end up. So maybe in a sense I'm like protecting myself, from future failure or hurt or loss or longing or whatever. In a sense, maybe it's a coping mechanism. We could talk for days about why we are compelled to do the things that we're compelled to do. But it's my safe spot. I don't know how else to be. I don't know. I mean, I like watching TV, but like walking my dog, that's it. And music, give me enough free time, and that's always where I'm going to end up. Whether it's collaborating with somebody or doing my own thing.
Back to therapy. I mean,
I guess so. It all,
yeah.
We're all kind of wandering around, perhaps, in this world, going like, "What's the answer? What do I do next? How do I do this?" I don't know any other way. Like, this is kind of the way that it's always been, road or not. And the feeling of making a new thing is addicting.
Right.
It's incredibly exciting to like be walking around in the world, and then 20 minutes later there's like this thing that never was there, painting or
sure.
There's so much of that you can find in the world, and I think perhaps we get distracted at times and don't spend time like we could.
And do you play everything on your own? I mean, so what I heard, obviously I missed a large segment of your stuff.
There's always tonight.
The stuff that I didn't get into, much of it is band driven, and then some of it's singer-songwriter kind of stuff. What is your most recent stuff? Would be singer-songwriter stuff?
No, I mean, so it's all songs to me, you know, like I feel like I could take any one of my songs or your songs and you could like paint it in a different hue or produce it a certain way. I hear a dance song, I hear a rap song, I just hear the actual like core of the tune.
Right.
So yeah, a lot of stuff, there's a full band, there's drums and whatever, and I'll probably continue to do that just so that the picture is kind of more filled in, but sometimes you tell the story with just a piano or just a guitar. So I think like, you know, whatever the piece calls for. I like all kinds of music. I'll continue to make all kinds of music.
Right.
There's no wrong answer.
When you're by yourself and you come up with an idea that you think is strong and you begin to kind of form that into what may end up being a completed song, do you feel like you're better at doing all that on your own? I mean, you have a recording studio in your house, so it's like, I'm good at this, I'm introverted, I'm going to go ahead and play all the pieces. And then if necessary, if there's something I don't want to do or something I think would add to it, then I want to bring someone in. Like, how does that process in your head?
It's always different. I love collaborating more now because I got a lot of that lone wolfedness out of my system in my early 20s, especially. Like, nobody could tell me what to do. Nobody could tell me how to play my song.
I'm sure you were great to work with.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was thrilling. And then like the first draft of anything was just like, nope, this is how it goes. But I think once you get that out of your system, you're more open to somebody else's suggestions. So now I love, like, I had a co-write today that you just never know what's going to happen. Anything can happen. So that part's really thrilling. As far as the instrumentation, if you work with people that are good at what they do, you can just let them kind of do what they do, right? And you don't really need to get too involved.
Because some songwriters that I've talked to, or that I just know, struggle with that. Struggle with giving over something that they have created, and in their head there's a sound. Like going into the studio, you have this thing, and it's beautiful, and it's yours, and then you hand it to someone, and you want them to do what you want them to do, but because of their experiences and talents and just the way they touch the strings or the keys, it's going to be different, and you have to be able to give that over. You had that problem early on, or maybe had tendencies to that early on in your career, but now that's not an issue. You like handing the paintbrush to someone else is not going to hurt your feelings.
Having 19 albums helps.
Yeah.
Because like
you've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I had the album where I played literally everything. I played the drums, you name it. And then I had the one that kind of got away from me, where, you know, the producer hired a bunch of people, and I was just standing there watching people play my guitar parts. Right. You know?
Not like you wanted them to.
I mean, a lot of times it was better than I would ever do.
Well, still, but you know
why,
admit that.
You know, they got the call.
Right.
You know, or like I just bought a harmonica and I wanted to do the harmonica part, and producer would suggest, well, if you're going to do harmonica on this song, why don't we call the guy in town that's the best harmonica player? You know, and then you listen to it back and you're like, okay, you were right. You know, I would have loved to do it, but maybe I'll get the next one. Right. So I don't know. I think it's like if you do anything long enough, you know, and anybody that's like out there playing every weekend, same thing goes. Like, hopefully you come full circle. You get to experience every part of that. Yeah. I mean, I've made albums where it's like me and two other people, and we play the whole thing live. I've played albums where it's me in my room and everything's in the box. And like, I learned so much from every part of it. So I wouldn't say there's even one way I prefer. Yeah. You know, it's just like just thinking about what's the next thing going to be like. So the last one, did everything in my house, and then went to a studio with a drummer from town, added the drums, mailed the album to a bass player that I worked with before, added the bass. Right. Heard the album for the first time. Yeah. So this one, I think I want to do it everybody in one room again. Just, you know, to flip the record a little bit.
So I think when people who don't have experience with recording music see movies and they see everybody in the same room, that doesn't happen very often. Usually it is pieced, usually it's track by track.
I think it should.
And explain to me why having an ensemble playing the song simultaneously is valuable.
So you're making something that's alive. You know what I mean? You can paint the same picture, paint by number or charcoal or oil paint, and you get anybody else involved, and it's going to kind of become a third entity. So you get the whole band in one room, and there's not just the song and you playing it, but there's that person spinning. Little things change, that you don't realize because it's all happening so fast. But there's an energy to it that I think gets sucked out of a lot of music that's in the box, which means like
Sure.
one thing is played perfectly,
Right.
hacked to bits,
Mhm.
and you can't quite put your finger on it, but you're listening to it and you're going like, I don't really.
There's a copy paste, and there's some place you can't quite put your finger on.
Yeah.
Well,
like
it's why
there's something
live
about
albums
that.
are so compelling, and why studio albums sometimes miss the mark. It's why the Grateful Dead didn't have a lot of studio success, but they obviously toured nonstop for generations.
Absolutely, and we've all seen bands that sound nothing like their album.
Right. There's a
You
good
know,
reason
like
why.
oh, they're great
Yeah.
live, and you buy the record, and you're just like, it's like it's dead. It has no life.
Or there's the flip side would be bands that are amazing in the studio, go out and just can't seem
And
to
then
replicate.
they just can't play.
Probably
It comes
because
down
what
to-
you're hearing is a lot of people who are on the stage, a lot of studio musicians
Yeah.
who are unsung heroes, that stuff. Okay, so tell me when people come into your place and they're starting out, what is some common advice or maybe mistakes or misconceptions that people have when they come to you for the first time?
That
What do
you
you keep
have to
telling
be
people over
good
and
right
over again?
away. Like everybody, it's human nature to want to do a good job and not fail.
Yeah.
But you have to make so many mistakes to be great at something. So I think we all beat ourselves up a little bit. Like I've seen people playing their first concert and they do like one little mistake that no one noticed and they'll
Right.
never forget it. It was like trauma.
Why do you think that's more? I agree with you, but as a father, why do you think that's more common now? Maybe than it
think
was when we were kids.
Perhaps it ties in with the American Idol culture that we see so many people that are already experts.
Right.
Like if you're a kid that's watching YouTube, which every kid is, you think that you need to be an expert at video games, cooking, music.
Right.
There's just all these experts everywhere, and
Right.
it's okay to just be okay at something.
Yeah.
Even if you're not great at anything, even if you're kind of just like okay or pretty good
Yeah.
at a couple things, like that's more than enough.
Yeah.
And I think our world with the internet, yes, we're all connected and blah 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 blah, great things about the internet. But as a kid, it's just right there in your face of
Right.
like everybody's better than me.
I remember going to concerts as a young man and seeing, the greatest guitar players in person for the first time, and I had one of two emotions. One was I'm going home to practice immediately, and one was I'm probably
Or
just
I'm
gonna
gonna quit. Yeah, I give up.
Right.
That person's got this. I don't need
Right.
to get involved.
And I was in a 90s cover band here a couple of years ago. We played all the time, and
The 90s was more than a couple years ago. Sorry.
no, the band was a couple of years ago. The 90s was a distant memory.
I'm sorry.
I remember almost most of it, and I learned a solo to some Smashing Pumpkins song from like a 9-year-old in Thailand or something, and that's where you get this. Where my son is singing the same thing, and you're seeing this kid with a 7-string guitar running all over the neck, and he's like,
I quit.
"Yeah,
Like,
why would I
take this
even
thing
want
away
to
from
begin?
me."
Why would I start?" Because so, how do you battle that? How do you just feed their
I like the first time that I'm meeting somebody, especially if they have that thing, and so many people do on varying scales. It's scientifically proven. There's like all these studies about the benefits of music, right? So one of my favorite things was hearing that it doesn't matter how good you are, you still just by doing it a little bit every week, you still get all the benefits, which means like you're better at school, you can remember things, you can self-teach, your ability to like hear and process information improves.
right.
So sometimes when you're 9, like you might not be amazing at playing Beethoven, and that's okay. But just by trying to play it, you're gonna perhaps like grow centers in your brain that when you're a successful architect, you
Right.
can see something in a way that nobody else
Sure.
can see, that people that don't play music will never be able to see. Plus,
Right.
musicians are just cooler and smarter and more humble and
Absolutely.
all these things. There's all these benefits, right, to
Right.
music. So regardless of whether you can play this song perfectly, you're still getting so much from it. So that's my favorite thing about this music is like it starts with music, but that just kind of like sparks the conversation for all this other stuff.
Right.
Like we started out learning this Smashing Pumpkins guitar solo,
Yeah.
but then you learned that there's like 9-year-old kids that are way better than you.
Right. With humility, which is I think it's just as important as anything else. Okay, let me ask you about Huntsville. You touched on it a little while ago. that you lived in Vancouver, you traveled all over the place, originally from Canada, and so you found your way here, and you've been here for 4 years, and you're happy. Why? Like,
Why am
why
I
here?
happy?
I mean, I'm from here.
Yeah.
And so people who come from here and they fall in love with it, I'm not going to say you shouldn't be here. I'm glad you're here, of course. But like, what? Let's start with just the aesthetic quality of Huntsville itself, but also the music, which I think you would agree is like we are on the edges of something very, very important in music in Huntsville. But tell me what made you stay?
So to be fair, I did not end up here because of music or because I thought, that something was going to happen. In fact, I lived in Tuscumbia, right on the river, down the road from 2 very famous studios.
Yeah.
And I woke up one morning and realized, oh, those very famous studios are right down the road from me.
Right.
What a great surprise! But it was immediately evident that I could live on the river for the same price as a 1-bedroom apartment. So that was the first thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so my quality of life is better. But then you add to that, there are these studios, there is music, there is all this life. So I'm staying. I mean, I can't imagine living anywhere else. And I know that's got to be weird for you. You grew up here, and you're just like you could go anywhere in the world. I'm sure people back home in Canada are perhaps asking themselves the same question, like Alabama of
Right,
all the
sure,
places
right.
in the world.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget the first time I was driving to my new house, and the neighbor waved at me. And I was like, oh, hey, did you see that? The neighbor waved at me. And eventually, my buddy was like, Billy, you have to wave back. You can't just like be enamored, like, hey, he waved.
Yeah.
Look at that. And I was driving by myself one day, and I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to wave. And it was just like this feeling of, I feel like it's like the last smallish big city, if that makes sense. Like it's got a small town. It feels like a small town where a lot of people are connected and grew up together or have something in common. But there's also like a nice grocery store.
Right. No, I get it. And so with that, and so 4 years ago when you first kind of got into the area, the live music or the music scene itself was still a little sleepy.
I mean, I was gone too. I wasn't really like
Here.
in town to see it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I was aware there was probably stuff happening
Yeah.
that I would never see.
Right.
But yeah, now that I'm kind of more on the pavement, it's like, yeah, there's a lot happening.
Can you feel that? I mean, can you? And
Yeah, it does
you've lived in
feel
other
cool.
places, and you know what? I mean, Vancouver has a legendary music scene, and so you know what that looks like. You know what that feels like. There's a certain vibe. There's a certain swagger. A city that has a cool underground music scene, or sometimes above ground music scene.
It feels very oddly similar in that, like I grew up in this place where it was just all these bands that would play together and put on shows for each other. And I mean, I still know these people. They're still in my life. I mean, you'll meet these people today or tomorrow, and you'll know them forever. And that's not changed.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of feels very similar here in that, now that my hometown is out of control and crazy populated, I wonder where kids go. I wonder,
Right.
I guess they have their computers and stuff and video games, but like, where did they go?
Yeah.
How do you meet somebody that you're going to know for the rest of your life?
Right. How do you? That's a good question. I mean, I think that's the kind of thing that I'm wondering, like before we started recording, I was telling you that whenever my kids get some money in their pocket, or a birthday or Christmas or whatever, they want to go to concerts. And so they want to experience that communal musical experience because I think they're cocooning on their phones.
Right.
So they're watching Billie Eilish concerts, they're watching Taylor Swift concerts, and they're seeing what that looks like, and they want to be a part of that. When I was growing up, I would do that on the weekends. Now, Huntsville only had a handful of places that I would have to sneak into when I was their age. But now there are so many more options to do that now. But when I play out, I don't see a lot of young people. Now, I'm not in the kind of band that's going to attract, super young folks to begin with. But again, there is some disconnect. But I feel like that even though that's true, and we're battling Netflix and YouTube to get the eyes and ears of the next generation of music fans.
It's not like they don't want to go.
It's not
they're
like
not
that
looking
emotion
for
has been extinguished. It's there. It's just we have to find better ways of providing that in a place like Huntsville. But you're playing at Humphreys coming up. Tell me when again.
January 31st.
January 31st, and you're looking forward to that. It's going to be fun.
I'm gonna try out some new songs. Yeah.
Yeah, Humphreys is a cool place, and hopefully the weather's cooperative so you can play outside because that's a beautiful place to play in the courtyard.
Yes.
If the weather's not great, it's not great.
I'll be in the corner.
You'll be in the corner. Well, it's really exciting. Again, I've listened to your stuff all day, and it's really, really very good. I think I'm maybe more excited about what you're doing with young people.
Same.
I mean, because
songs are cool and everything. But
well, you're going to do that, and you're gonna go and you're going to play, and you're going to love it, and you're going to perform, and people are going to get to experience that, and that's something that is going to be a gift between you and your audience, and you've done that for many, many, many years. But the other thing that you're doing is more like you're planting a seed,
yep.
which is generational, in its impact. And I can tell that's something that's very important to you.
I had a young man that was moving town because his father got a new job, and he wrote me this card that said, "Thank you for teaching me piano. I think I want to be a music teacher when I grow up." And I was just like,
yeah. Yeah.
No offense, music. No offense, my own stuff and my own people.
Sure.
But, that was huge.
When you can give it to somebody, and give it to someone in a way, this is teach a man to fish kind of
Right.
situation. So tell me, as we wrap up, you have a life to live, but tell me how I can help you in this. The performance thing really sparked my interest because I know a lot of people that would love to help that aspect.
Yeah, these
Sounds
kids are looking for places to play.
Okay, well, we got that.
Yay.
And we would have people that would be more than interested in seeing that come to fruition. I mean, there's a local thing. There's Tangled String. There's Sidetracks. I mean, there's a bunch of venues, Low Mill, who would jump at the opportunity to help out in whatever way that even means. And so I don't even know how, and the camp obviously would be right there to how to help you do that. So that's an open question that we can answer later on, unless you have some specific ideas. I mean, you said places to play. What does that mean?
Yeah, so I mean, we've got I'm kind of thinking batches of either age group or style of music, basically putting together smaller shows that are all ages.
Yeah.
Where it's instead of maybe one or two songs that each person is playing, each person plays for about 20 minutes because that's a lot. When you're 13, people don't understand the amount of work it takes to get an hour of music together.
Right.
You played in a cover band,
Right.
but you had been playing your whole life, and people think that they're just paying you for the 3 hours of music, but it's that took so many hours to prepare. So I think to give kids a platform to be their own show and be a headliner, you got to do that in little steps. So
well, I think for them, not to cut you off, but I think it was something important about that is to give them the full writing experience, the full recording experience, which is a purely professional. You're doing this the same way it was done for you, and then to give them the performance. And if the performance is any less impactful or any less professional or any less built up than the previous stair steps, you kind of ruin the entire experience. You need to go someplace where this happens anyway. It doesn't need to be somebody's living room.
Right.
It needs to be real. It
the
needs
cool
to be real for
thing
them.
that I'm seeing is, so some people, they love performing, right? Which I knew was going to happen.
Right.
Some people do not. They love the studio.
Right.
Some people love the place where everybody is sat down, staring at you. It's quiet, like the BBC, right?
Right.
And going into it, I kind of already know who's what.
Yeah.
Some people loved being in the background while the farmer's market was going on, or the Christmas market, not being the center of attention, but still sharing music. And it just kind of reaffirms there's so much to music. That we're all told to get real jobs and go to school, but you can be in a cover band on the weekends. That will help you with your big boy job or whatever. You can be a studio musician.
Yeah.
You might have to move to New York, but you can do it. People need you. People need songs. People need to put on a CD. That's why we're so lucky that all these musicians in town, have regular gigs because people know it's better than just putting on like a Spotify playlist,
Right.
which is great. So, you know, that has been the best part in all this, and just kind of like figuring out, okay, well, what can I do to nurture the people that are obviously original songwriters? What can I do to nurture the people that are side people? They're background drummers or guitar players or whatever. You know, I probably got a handful that are going to be the next cover bands that you go and see. When the next time you're at Humphreys, they're going to be the band playing.
Right.
So it's like trying to figure out some, you know what I mean? Because
there's a role for everybody. None of them are diminished. There's no hierarchy. It's like they're all working musicians in some way, shape, or form. No, I get that. I think where I was headed with the venue thing is to give the kids, and you said all ages to begin with, but I mean most of these people are young people, to have them walk in, go to a green room, prep, to have the real professional experience.
Yeah.
How great would that have been for me when I was 13, when I never had that? You know, I never had that.
Someone that was going to mentor me.
And because the curve is so steep, you know, like YouTube makes it normal to be 8 and amazing, and American Idol, you know, it's like it happens so fast, and people, these kids see that it could be their dream.
Right.
They could be a YouTube sensation or whatever. So the fact that they're already doing it and they're already like
making sure my battery's okay.
Inspired.
Sorry,
We almost did it. Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah. So it's already possible to them.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like us older people that are going, no, get a real job, and like it's fine if you want to play guitar, but don't like spend too much time on it.
No, this is. I can see a night where you have, you know, your up and comers, the people who are ready, who have recorded a song, put them on stage at a place like Tangled String, and have them experience what it's like to really perform in front of a great audience.
And just imagine your son or daughter walks in, sees that happening. They've never seen anything like it before,
Right.
And they could be the next Kurt Cobain or Amy Winehouse or whatever.
Right.
Like, I don't think we realize what we really could stand to lose by not giving these people a place.
Sure. Okay. Let's do it. All right. Well, thank you. I mean, that's really amazing. I didn't really know what I was going to talk to you about. I mean, I knew that you had your stuff, and I knew kind of where I was headed. But you're really doing some awesome stuff, and I'm really glad to meet you.
You as well.
And I'm glad to give you a reason to do this. And I know you're an introvert. I am pretty much too. And it's sometimes we have to get out and just kind of yell real loudly what we're up to, especially when other people want to take what you've got and move it a little further, you know.
We are in this together.
Absolutely.
So,
we are all definitely on the same team.
Thank you for the conversation starter.
Yeah, well, this isn't the last. So we're going to do this again. I'm going to, I have like action items, you know. I want to talk to people that I know, that venues that would love to do something with what you've got. So we have ways to work together.
Go
Billy,
team.
you're amazing. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you coming to, you know, Uprising Studios, sitting by the fire. Wasn't it nice?
Nice.
Pretty nice. All right, thanks. You're the best. All right, until next time.